You're listening to the Bear in Mind podcast, episode number 103.
A podcast uncovering identity, color, and love, where driving yourself crazy is totally sane and curable. Now your host, T. Bias.
I've got something new and different coming up in 2 episodes, 105. And it's a series for every episode that ends in 5, where I'm going to be talking about verbal judo. And verbal judo, the name is, there is a book. It's an old book, and I read it years ago, and I've read so many books on conversations, how to handle verbal abuse, and what to do. So I have put in a lot of research, and I really like this name because judo, if you translate it, it means in a gentle way. So it's a way to communicate. It's the way I use to communicate where I am. When I use verbal judo, when I put together this stuff, I am so proud of myself with the way I show up because I'm not attacking the other person and I'm still standing my ground and my boundaries. So I'm going to be doing a series on verbal judo, and 105 is going to be verbal judo for when you get unsolicited advice. And that happens a lot. However, today, we're going to be talking about when the universe has something to teach you. And I have read this in so many books, and it's a common expression or meme that you see, is that things will come your way when there's still a lesson to be learned from it. You will have relationships that are maybe tense and you find difficult, work situations, things like that, where it seems like it's always difficult and it's always hard. And there is something in that where the universe is trying to teach you something. So where I find this really applicable is in my relationships outside of work, but it also applies to work relationships, but more in my friendships. And I recently had 3 friends who I love dearly, teach me something. And the universe will kind of always test you because there's always something to be learned. And so I'm going to be straight up here. The other way of looking at it, that the universe has something to teach you, is that there's a growth opportunity. And there is no right or wrong decision that you can make about anything, even the littlest decisions about whether to go out to dinner or to continue to stay in a friendship or a relationship. There is no right or wrong answer because the universe will come back and teach you something that you maybe missed in that past relationship. And that's what I feel like that happens in a lot of my friendships is there was a pattern I had. And I think many of us can relate to this, that sometimes you say yes to a lot of things and you're a doormat and you haven't set appropriate boundaries. You don't know how to. I am a person that is learning to do this. I didn't set boundaries. And so I would give and give in a lot of my relationships. And although that sounds so lovely that I give and give, as far as listening, even gifts, I think I was generous, but up until a certain point. And then I would become resentful because I wasn't getting back something that I was expecting in that friendship. For example, I listened to somebody's story. I continue to listen. The conversation is about their stories. And in turn, eventually I expect that they listen to my stories. And a lot of times when I would speak up, and it takes a lot of courage to try to share some of your stories, they would say things like, a lot of my friends would say, "Oh, I know, you don't need to talk about that. I totally get that." And then they would start talking about themselves. So I found myself in this very resentful pattern, and it did not feel good because resentment is kind of one of those emotions that stays in your body and it doesn't feel good. And then eventually you kind of hit this breaking point where then for my own sanity, I would then stop the relationship, not in a mean way, but I would okay, I can't be around them anymore. And it was almost so abrupt that now the friendship is kind of deteriorated because I can't handle it anymore. because I had so much resentment, so many negative feelings towards that person. And then I was ending up judging them, blaming them. And of course, you're not feeling good in any of those situations. And so this was my pattern. And the universe would send me female friends or colleagues, I would say, also, that where there was people in my life where I started to, again, feel this kind of negative experience, feel tense. Because the people, they're all different, right? And I would start to get tense because then there might be this little ask. They start to ask something of me as the relationship grew, or as the working relationship grew. It would start to ask a little bit more of me, and I would continue to say yes. And what I believe that was teaching me was how to set boundaries, in friendships where you want so badly to hold on to your friend and you're so afraid of saying no because you know that might mean the end of the friendship. And then you're kind of back to, oh my God, am I going to be lonely forever? And so when I was thinking about how the universe continues to test me with my friendships, and as I develop new friendships, it's kind of interesting because I was like, oh, it's testing me. But what I didn't do is I didn't see it as a growth opportunity. I would say this is a test, and either there's a passing grade or there's a failing grade. Instead of looking at a little bit wider, like where can I grow in this? So when you do think the universe is testing you and you find yourself, again, maybe in a difficult relationship where it's tense and you're experiencing a lot of negative emotion around it, it can help to think of it as, where is my growth in this? Because that's the nature of every relationship. Every relationship can teach you something, can help you grow. And I'll have to tell you, my mother is the gift that keeps on giving. I continue to grow when I reflect on that relationship because it is your first relationship with somebody. Even if you did not grow up in a conventional family, you had a birth mother, and even that kind of relationship that stays in your head, it is still the basis of how you will go into relationships in your adult life. So relationships are there to always teach us something, to always grow. And although it sounds kind of funny to say, well, the universe is going to test you, what I'm also trying to see is the immense amount of growth opportunity there is in each of those relationships, instead of it coming to the point where the universe is testing me and then I need to, end the friendship or something because they didn't pass the test, I didn't pass the test. And it's a little more opening and a little more forgiving. Not necessarily, it's not even about the other person, but a little bit more forgiving to yourself. So I'm going to get down to the point of these 3 friends. I'm actually only going to highlight the two friendships because the third one, it's a pattern. And so one of the things is that through therapy and through coaching, is that I found out that when I'm angry, I suppress my anger. And that's why it kind of leads to resentment. So I don't set boundaries and I don't do all of the things that would help me grow and also understand why I'm angry. And maybe this is something I want to do something about. So I was angry. And a lot of times I just want to avoid until resentment kicks in. And then I'm done with the relationship. And so this time I tried to understand what the anger was telling me, gained some wisdom, and cleaned it up. Meaning I wasn't going to communicate with my friend from the emotion of anger. I was going to let myself feel the emotion, get wisdom, and I jotted some thoughts down about my anger, and I cleared that up, and then I decided I'm actually going to address what I'm angry about. I'm not going to act from the emotion of anger, meaning say things I don't mean or name call or all of those things that you do when you're angry, yell, all of those things. I'm going to take that wisdom from anger, and when I'm in a calm place, I'm going to communicate what I was angry about. And that was my growth opportunity. I had never decided that I'm angry. It's okay to be angry. I'm going to feel it. And then I'm going to calm down, clean it up. And guess what? I'm still going to address it. And I had never done that with a friend. And it was really wonderful. even though it sounds like it's going to be painful and fearful, and it might mean a loss in friendship, I can tell you that that growth opportunity brought me a lot closer to understanding myself and the type of relationships that I want to continue to have, and great relationships that I want to continue to have in my life. And it helps me show up better in the other relationships that I have with my partner and with my other friends. And the second one was interesting because it's a newer friendship. The other one was an older friendship, and this one is a newer friendship. And she had made a request that I felt went over a boundary. And it was earlier, and I took some time to think about it, and I said, okay, this is my opportunity also to state my boundary, to say no to a request that a friend was making. And before, I would say yes, 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 yes. That was like, oh, you want me to do this? No problem. You want me to help me move? I'll break my back and go help you move. All of those things. And I realized that, okay, I can say no. I don't want to do it. I like my reasons for saying no. And I can set the tone of this new friendship by saying, this is my limit. I'm not going to do this for you in our friendship. I love you and I still want to be your friend and I still want to continue as friends, but I'm going to say no to this request. So wherever you're at in your relationships and you kind of feel like there's always a test, there's this difficult person, there always seems to be a difficult colleague, all of those things, yeah, the universe is testing you because there is growth opportunity. There is always going to be a growth opportunity in every person that you meet and get to know. And that's all I have for you this week. I'll check back with you next.
Thanks for listening. Listen for a new episode next Tuesday by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Bye for now.